Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about the Moto G Stylus 5G. Let's not confuse this with the Moto G Stylus 2021 edition. That is a little bit different because that's a 4G LTE phone and it has an entirely different camera bump. The 5G Moto G Stylus was recently released, I believe July 14th, if I'm correct. I don't think it's June 14th. I believe it's July 14th. It does feature 5G. Now, the prices I'm going to give you are Metro by T-Mobile prices. So far, it's not under T-Mobile itself, which it can be used under that company if the phone is unlocked through carrier usage or manually unlocking. Now, this phone runs for $259 on the Metro website. $199 is an upgrade if you're eligible. It's $79 with an ID for a new line, $99 without an ID for a new line, and $19 as a port-in. So if you're interested in switching to the carrier, what I suggest is make sure that you basically figure out what phone that you want. Because remember, when you're porting in, there are other devices around the price range of $19, $20, sometimes free, that you could definitely purchase. And I would suggest looking at the Moto One Ace 5G also. But again, this is about the Moto 5G Stylus for those that pretty much want that pen. So long story short, first thing we're going to talk about is the screen size. Now, this phone had a whopping, let me unlock it. I actually just set it up already. This has a 6.8, excuse me, IPS LCD screen, 1080 by 2400 pixels. So for the PPI, you're looking at 387. Not bad for a phone of this price or stature. So far, I could honestly, Motorola, we're going to talk about the screen. Motorola doesn't make very high-end screens when it comes to their low-end, mid-tier phones. Typically, their better devices do have nice screens, but they haven't really, added that to the mid-tier market. It's a way to still use these cheaper LCD screens where you can keep the price of the phone down. That's one of the reasons why Motos typically have decent specifications, like typically 6 gigs, between 4 to 6 gigs of RAM. They typically have a decent processor, a lot of internal memory, and things like that because of the fact that they're able to keep the price down. Now, this particular device is green. So I will say that it has your USB-C charger right here. It has your headphone jack. Right here, you have your stylus, which it does pop in. And I'm actually glad for this stylus, primarily because I do like phones that have styluses, and I feel as if there should be a little bit more outside of the Note series. There was the Stylo, and LG typically doesn't make phones anymore. So this is definitely a time for a company like Motorola to really, really shine, take advantage of that situation, especially with the bigger screen, and just show them properly how it's done. Okay, so on the other hand, your volume rocker is right here. A little small in my opinion, but it's not bad. Lock button I do wish was a little bit bigger. If you can see it right here in the video, trying to clear that up for you. But typically, like Motorola fashion, this is how the phone looks. If you've used Motorola software already, it doesn't have too much bloatware at all because Motorola, obviously Google has zero bloatware typically on their phones, like the Pixel series. But Motorola's, Alcatel's, and certain devices have kind of tried to follow suit and not add too much bloatware. You are going to have Motorola applications. Like, let's take a look at them. Right here, coloring book is something where you can just basically use your stylus. It gives you pictures and you can color for those that like that. Moto Note, I typically use that all the time for drawing silly pictures and sending it to my wife. But that's the note. Moto Note is the application that you would typically use if you're drawing or writing or making notifications and whatnot. All right, so moving on. Software. This does launch with Android 11 automatically. It does have a Snapdragon 480 5G. Now, in one of my other videos, because of my own ignorance, I know how processors have different generations. And when I heard Snapdragon 480, because the OnePlus N200 5G also has a Snapdragon 480. To me, I was looking at it like, is that really that high end of a processor? It doesn't sound that good because I'm typically used to the 690s, the 665, not say, just a certain number. And then you keep rising up when you get to the 750Gs and the 888s and all that. But the 480, if you check the benchmark skills and whatnot, is typically what the last. It's a better processor than the Moto G stylus last year that had a 665. So it will give you better performance than that phone. Better performance, better battery. I can't say battery life. It really depends on the phone and what the phone could do. But typically, it manages power better. Like, I don't want to use that word and get it completely wrong, but it manages the power of the phone better. Processing power. The GPU is still the 619. That's typically what all of these phones are using, mid-tier phones, and it does a very good job of just overall giving you a decent experience. Now, what I will say that this phone is 60 hertz, I believe. It's not 90, and it's certainly not 120. So if you've experienced 120 and 90 hertz, it might be typically hard for you to go back to a particular phone like this. But for me, I like the stylus. I don't mind doing that. And, the applications still run very well, given the fact that it's 60 hertz. Typically, phones that have higher hertz screens, applications run better at the native 120 or 90 that it's supposed to be, rather than you changing it manually yourself. But this does a very good job of gaming also. The same thing that the N200 did, which I will show that in this video after we talk about all the specifications. What else do we have here? Sorry, I'm a little underneath the weather, but I really want to get this video out because it is a fairly new phone for these carriers. Memory. Now, I'm a little torn between this because I have seen online, I guess there are models that have 6 gigs of RAM and 256, but this particular one under, again, Metro by T-Mobile. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, it has like a green tint, if you've seen that. So when you purchase this phone, mostly the Motorola's tend to have like a blue tint, while this one is like a dark, rich green, shiny green, and it's different. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I didn't notice it until I actually really looked at the phone, because the phone was in a case when I originally got it. And when I just took it off and really examined it, I said, that's kind of cool. Unfortunately, that only comes in this color, nothing else, but that's okay. And, it is what it is. It's better than the typical gray phones they used to sell. All right, so anyway, back to this. It's 128 gigs internally, this particular model, the Metro by T-Mobile model, and it's 4 gigs of RAM. Little disappointed that it is 4 gigs of RAM, but what we also have to realize is, given at this price point, don't forget there is the Moto One Ace 5G. And the only downside to the Moto One Ace 5G, which came out first, is that that's under Android 10. I don't know if it's going to get an update, but this does run Android 11. And typically for me, I prefer phones that get a couple years worth of updates. But since I buy phones so often, it's not like this is going to be my primary phone forever. It'll probably be my primary phone for a month or two. Not even that long before I try a different device out that's released. So anywho, 4 cameras. 4 camera setup that you have right here. Unfortunately, I don't know which one is which completely. I believe that this one is the 48 megapixel. You also have a 8 ultra wide, which if I'm looking at the lens is probably this one. You have a 5 macro, and I believe it's a 2 depth sensor. This is the last one. Now and again, I could be pointing to the wrong cameras, but there are a total of 4 cameras, and those are the specifications. So 48 wide, 8 ultra wide, 5 macro, I believe 2 depth. Now, unlike the LG Stylus, which was actually able to record 4K, and I will say that they probably released the original Stylus too early for the 4K. They kind of removed that feature over the next couple phones that they made, which is a little disappointing because I really did love the 4K feature and just how smooth the phone was. But this does record in under 1080p between 30 to 60 frames, or FPS for those that are wondering what that is, frames per second. Front camera that you see over here, this guy is actually 16 megapixels, but it only records under 1080p, the highest 1080p 30 frames. For me, which is fine because, again, you're in the mid-tier market. Even though this is a $259 phone, you're not paying that when you come to Metro. If you're porting, it's $19. If you're adding a line and you have an ID, which it's impossible practically not to, I don't know what you're doing if you don't have one, $79, new line. So really, I added this phone to my account, paid the $30 or $40 for the plan, $80 for the phone, basically. When it was all said and done with the case, it was about $150 and some change. But in reality, it's roughly like $130 minus the case. Because my case right here, which the to-go cases is something that both T-Mobile and Metro PCS sells, by T-Mobile, I'm sorry, not Metro PCS, and they sell these for $20. I had to protect it, so I got it. And, you know, normally I'll Amazon my cases or Amazon my tempered glass if I'm not paying $30 for a piece of plexiglass. What else do we have here? Battery. So the battery is 5,000 mAh, which is the typical battery for the Moto G Stylus series. That's what they normally have. I'm sorry, the Moto G Power normally has 5,000, but they started putting the 5,000 battery in the Stylus, definitely because, you know, as a consumer, we want the best battery life, primarily because it supports 10-watt charging. Now, I didn't see anything to see if it supports 15. Hopefully it does. I mean, it would be nice if it supported 25. It doesn't. But again, it's a budget phone, and even the high-end phones are tending to support 25 watt because they're not trying to give you a better charger in the box. Samsung's a prime example. Apple's a prime example. They normally support 20 watts. Samsung does 25 with the S21. When they lowered it, I think it was like 45 or 65 before at the max. Anywho, depending on the model Samsung device that you have. So now, like I said, you have the stylus. It's a pop-out stylus right here. Makes a little click. Pull it out. You have your typical stylus features, similar to the other Moto. And you do, I'm sorry, pull up my Pico app. And you do have the option to basically edit the settings of how you want or what you want to pop up in your app. And I do not know why the app was jumping just now. Oh, it was my finger touching it. And my hand, the fat meat of my hand was actually touching the screen, making it jump. So got scared there, like something was wrong on my screen. Very simplistic design. I'm not going to go into the stylus too much, primarily because they didn't really add any features that much to the stylus. They might add application here or there or the customization, but for the most part, it's still a stylus. I'll pull it out anyway. It's still a stylus that doesn't have any buttons. It's not Bluetooth, and you're never going to get Bluetooth realistically. That's a Samsung thing, but that's okay because it's still nice to have a stylus. I actually have been using it for just web browsing and different things, and I do have certain applications like Shadow. What's the game called? Shadow Run, or I forget what it's called, but I certain applications I do use the tap feature. Now, because this phone has a 480, what is it called? Snapdragon 480 5G. What I'm going to do typically, which I'm going to do that for every video now with a phone, is show you how Call of Duty runs. Some people show you Temple Run. I'm going to show you a game that people are actually playing, so you can actually determine and see how the game runs. Now, when I first started this game up, it supported the high settings. I believe it can go to high, a little bit higher than high, but it started off default at high, which I typically put it on medium because I don't believe in playing games at the highest setting because that does affect your battery. It affects your performance. It really affects how the phone will operate over time, and you don't necessarily want to tear it down. Even though it's a cheap phone, you know, in a prepaid market, you know, you should still respect the device that you have because it's a purchase that you made. Hopefully it's an informed one. And that's pretty much it for that aspect. So I'm just waiting for this game to load so I can actually show you how it plays. I'll just do like a few seconds in a match. Let me just collect my free login, and then I will take you over to a match. Let's see. Change the settings. And I got to do this now anyway. I typically only do these two for now. Okay, so we're going to start a match just to show you. Now, what I will say about Motorola phones, the last model, which was the G Stylus, I had an issue where if you're having a low signal, like between 2 bars or so, I would experience lag, meaning I'll be right here, and then a second later, it shows me in the back of the screen. Like it'll lag where it looks like I'm still at the starting screen. So as you can see, the phone actually runs very well when it comes to playing Call of Duty. Yeah, it actually runs very well. Now you will have a stutter or a skip here and there. That's typically with whatever phone that you're using. Not every phone has that, but again, this is on medium settings, medium frame rate. Typically I put it on high, but I just wanted to show you that normally, if it's a mid-tier phone, I tend to stick to medium for the frame rate. If it's a higher-end phone, I stick to high. Even when I had the OnePlus, which my wife is using again. Oh, wow, he got me. Basically, I stick to a certain setting. All right, so we're going to leave this match. The guys will be perfectly fine. It's not ranked or anything, so there you go. So Call of Duty does work very well on that phone. Also, what we're going to go ahead and check is Genshin Impact. This is one of the extremely popular apps. Basically, it's Pocket Zelda in a sense. And it does take a second to load. So I'm going to wait for this to actually load. And while we're loading it, I guess I'll just kind of talk to you about my final opinion about the phone. Now, my thing is, if software is an issue and you want software, I'm going to suggest this particular device in the Motorola family if you like Motorola phones. See, the thing is, a lot of these prepaid phones aren't supported because they typically expect you to buy a phone every single year given the price point. And not everybody wants to do that. Some people just want to buy one device, use it for the next 3-4 years, call it a day. I don't believe Motorola is going to give you a couple of years worth of software updates. They might give you 2 years, maybe, that typical minimum security update. Hopefully they give you at least an iOS. They give you a software update to like Android 12 when the time comes after Google uses it with their Pixel and different. Oh, it's actually loaded faster than I expected it to. We'll talk about the impressions in a moment. I'm just going to let this load up and I'm going to show you Genshin Impact. So for those that play this particular game, it does have its lag moments. Now, again, granted that I did not go into the settings and put this on the lower graphics. You can lower the graphics for this game. It does give you an option. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play it on the standard so you can just basically see how well this game is running. I do apologize for the, what is it called here? Oh my gosh. It went out. One moment. I have to keep forgetting when I'm in this office is a timer. So anyway, it's going to be a little bit laggy. I'm using an A52 camera right now. It looks actually terrible, A52 camera. So anyway, I'm just going to show you that the phone, if you saw that stutter just a moment ago, it does stutter a little bit in this game. It stutters when you're in combat a little bit, but the game is playable. And the fact that this is playable on a Snapdragon 480, that's not bad. So for the consumer, Call of Duty, NBA Live, what do we have here? Final Fantasy War of the Visions, Black Desert, games like that are going to run better. Genshin Impact is a 10 gig game. And keep in mind, this is a 128 gig phone, so you have more than enough memory to download those big files that, that work for the game. Now, I do hope that over time, if Diablo Immortal, wherever the game called it on the phone, is ever released in its lifetime, I don't know if they'll make it where 4 gigs of RAM can support it, but hopefully they do. So this is the game right here. It's running pretty smooth. If I lower the graphics, it's going to run a little bit smoother, but I just wanted to show you on standard graphics. So impressions. It's a good device. And then again, if we're talking about performance, the Moto Ace is the better choice. The A52 5G is going to be a better choice. Even the OnePlus N10 5G, because of the 30-watt fast charging, 30 minutes, 70%. It's other features that really help. Plus, the OnePlus might have a better camera than this overall. Now, if you're the type of person where you want the bigger screen and you want the stylus, this is a major goal for me on a simple fact that, like I said, I use high-end phones. I use mid-tier phones. Obviously, it's a huge difference. If you're coming from high-end, you don't want this phone. If you're coming from high-end, this is going to be a downgrade, and you're going to notice every little feature if you're picky. On the other hand, if you're coming from the G Stylus already, because people still have that phone, this is a worthy upgrade if you consider the screen size and if you consider the better processor. Is it that much better where you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to buy it? Absolutely not. But I will suggest it on a simple fact that it's a better feeling phone. It's a better looking phone than the G Stylus that came out. If you don't want to spend the money for the Ace, you're still getting all the features and familiarity that you already have with the G Stylus, but bigger screen, faster processor, and less stutter lag. The original G Stylus had a lot of stutter lag of just swiping between applications and other things. And you can see this struggle a little bit when you do that, but it's still a situation where I can't speak for longevity because it is a brand new device. But if you can deal with the 20, I'm sorry, I keep on calling it 20. If you have the 2021 Moto G Stylus, this isn't much of an upgrade unless you want that 5G. And for me, 5G is very important for my uploads, videos to YouTube, amongst other things. And I love 5G. I don't want to go back to 4G LTE. So you'll be getting a 5G device. If you're a Metro customer, obviously you have the last stylus. The LG probably isn't coming out with another phone, so Motorola is going to be your best bet, especially if you want to stick to the same carrier and get insurance with whoever you are with. So yes, I do suggest this phone. Processor wise, like I said, I can't speak over time of how the phone is going to be, but with the 5,000 millihertz battery, degradation to it, it's going to be slower than typically your average Samsung phone or your average iPhone, which has a much smaller battery. All these phones have in the setting with RAM management. So it's going to use less processing power, especially when it learns your habits throughout the day or throughout the months or throughout the weeks to come. I do like the phone. Price-wise is not too bad, especially when you're signing up for service. Upgrade, I don't think you... Put it this way, for upgrade, if you're paying $200 for this phone, I'd rather get a Moto G Ace, right? 5G. Because it has a Snapdragon 750G, I believe, and it has 6 gigs of RAM. So it's going to manage things better. But again, if the stylus is a must for you, if you have to have that, the design kind of captivated you, depending on what phone you're coming from, make sure that this is a better device than what you have. Because if you have something that's better, again, I don't mind downgrading because I'm trying out tons of different devices. But if you're not like me and you're only interested in one, and you're coming from a G Stylus or you have a Revel device previously, or you have a Stylo 6, or you're still holding on to an older device, then this is definitely a worthy upgrade in that aspect. Anyway, I need to go take care of my health. I'm very tired. Only got a couple hours of sleep. Hope you guys liked the video. If you have any questions below, if I missed anything, I'll definitely answer to the comments if anyone sees this video. And, we'll just start a conversation. Anyway, it was nice talking to everyone. I'll see you in the next video.